The incoming press secretary says vloggers may be allowed to cover the palace, but that doesn't make them actual journalists. The incoming national security advisor says she's not interested in red tagging and will instead address the root cause of insurgency. Two losing candidates for the presidency failed to file their sources before the deadline. In sports, the Boston Celtics are now 2 wins away from running off with an NBA title. And the UE Lady Warriors finally snapped the curse and took 1 win at the UAAP Women's Volleyball Tournament at the expense of FEU. Focused and fearless. Here's everything you need to know to jumpstart your day. I'm Riza Diaz. Professor Clarita Carlos vows to address the root causes of insurgency as well as other aspects of human security as Marcos Jr.'s National Security Advisor. Marlene Alcaide gives us a front seat to the big story.
Retired UP political science professor Clarita Carlos is the next national security advisor under the Marcos administration. The post is usually given to military personnel as it covers counterterrorism, maritime security, and counterinsurgency, among others. Carlos will be the Philippines' first female national security advisor in decades.
Gender does not matter, and we will prove it to them.
Carlos said she plans to give the post a civilian perspective and tackle other areas of concern when it comes to human security. This includes concern on the economic front and the Filipinos' quality of life.
Bakit hindi military ang nilagay doon, ano? Hindi lang naman ang military yung national security. In fact, national security is human security. It's the security of the individual.
As NSA, Carlos will also be part of the Anti-Terrorism Council, where she will sit as vice chairperson. Last year, National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon tagged individuals and groups as terrorists. But Carlos said this will not be her priority. Instead, she will focus on addressing the root cause of insurgency, such as injustice and lack of opportunities.
There are lazy ways of identifying people, and we don't like to do that. No? Let's just continue with what we're doing in addressing the roots of insurgency, and I don't know that red tagging helps. No? It doesn't help.
Kabataan Party List, which had experienced red tagging, welcomed Carlos's statement. However, they will still keep an eye on Carlos once she formally takes the position.
Positive ba sa inyo si Professor Carlos or tingin nyo makikinig siya sa inyo?
Well, gusto pa nating tingnan kung paano niya maipapatupad under her watch as National Security Advisor yung kanyang mga sinabi. Paano ba ma-hold accountable yung mga public officials na under the current admin ay wala talagang limit sa kanilang pagre-renta.
On issues regarding the West Philippine Sea, Carlos said that the marching order is to continue discussions and critical engagements with China. But so far, she and President-elect Bongbong Marcos have yet to zero in on the details. For News 5, Marlene Alcaide, we are One News.
As she continues to push for accreditation of vloggers to cover the palace, incoming PCOO chief Trixie Cruz admits that these social media personalities are far off from being journalists. JC Cosico has a report.
A top of the priority of incoming Press Secretary Attorney Trixie Cruz is the accreditation of vloggers. But while this may come as a surprise for some, Cruz Angeles says the PCOO has long had a rule on accrediting vloggers. She tells 1PH, though, that is still subject to review.
Meron pong polisiya ngayon sa PCOO sa pag-accredit ng ilang vloggers to attend press briefings or to interview the president. Titignan natin unang-una kung naaangkop na po ang pag-accredit ng mga vloggers for news coverage, for press briefings.
Among the questions she said they're also trying to answer is the level of inclusion that bloggers and vloggers will have, and whether they will be part of regular coverages like the rest of the Malacanang press corps. Vloggers might also be limited to covering events. What's for sure, she says, is that accreditation will be different for vloggers.
When we make policy, the policy is for a public purpose. It is going to be a blogger accreditation. It is not the same as a journalist accreditation. So we recognize the differences.
With vloggers and bloggers possibly joining the helm, Cruz Angeles says having more information would help combat the spread of fake news. As for their transition talks, she says that this is still ongoing, but her team is about 80% complete. For News 5, JC Cosico, We Are One News.
Justice Secretary Minardo Guevara has met with incoming Justice Secretary Boying Remulla today for a transition meeting. In a statement, Guevara said that the meeting was important to ensure smooth transition. He also noted that this might not be the last time that he's meeting Remulla, as he's also open for any consultations in the future. Remulla says the meeting was productive. He also plans to request for another one as there is so much left for him to learn.
Masalimuot talaga ang problema ng sistema na kailangan natin isaayos. Imagine 11 agencies yan na kasama sa DOJ family. So walang simple. It's a big work in progress na ating itutuloy at ating ilulungsad ng mga improvements na pwedeng gawin.
The COMELEC warns that both losing and winning candidates who failed to meet the June 8 deadline for filing of SOSE would face an administrative case and pay a fine. Education and Information Department Director James Jimenez said the deadline is final and non-extendable except for winning candidates and party list groups. Winning candidates are given a grace period of 6 months from proclamation to file their SOSE, but they could face fines amounting to 6,000 to 10,000 pesos depending on the position they vied for. 8 out of 10 presidential candidates have filed their documents before the deadline. Those who failed to do so are Faisal Mangodadato and Norberto Gonzales. For Vice President, only 7 out of the 9 candidates followed the mandatory filing. Rizalito David did not file his SOSE, while Manny Lopez did not finish the filing process. Now, out of the 64 senatorial candidates, 44 filed their SOSEs, including all 12 winning senatoriables. This means 20 losing candidates did not file their documents. On the other hand, only 147 out of the 178 party list groups have filed their SOSEs, including all 55 winners. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. Despite Health Secretary Francisco Duque himself saying that masks are helping keep new COVID-19 infections at bay, Cebu Province becomes the first area in the Philippines to relax their mask mandate in outdoor areas. Faith Del Mundo has the details.
Cebu Province residents can now breathe easily outside as their provincial government relaxed their mask mandates, being the first place in the Philippines to do so. Cebu Governor Gwen Garcia signed Executive Order Number 16, which states that wearing of masks would now be optional in outdoor areas in well-ventilated states in the province effective June 8. Wearing of mask is still required in closed spaces and air-conditioned establishments. shots. Persons who are sick or experiencing COVID symptoms like cough, fever, and others are still required to wear a face mask. While masking is now optional outdoors, it is highly encouraged to wear on in crowded outdoor areas. DOH Central Visayas Dr. Mary Jane Loreche says that face mask still gives protection, especially in crowded places. And despite low COVID-19 cases in the province, Alert Level 2 is still hoisted in Cebu up until the middle of June. While 100 cases of COVID-19 were reported in the whole region.
Our one Cebu Island, mapapansin natin that we have maintained our low cases, no? So yung mga bago nating positive or new cases are very, very small. And as a matter of fact, this is better reflected in our capacity utilization rate. Yung sinasabi nating hospital admissions natin, kung makikita din natin, both in the private and DOH retained hospitals, lahat po sila ay within the very safe zone.
Loreche also says that the EO is just a guide as people can still wear masks at their own disposal.
Executive orders are, given to us to serve as a guidance, by our leaders. And it can be executed because that is their prerogative. Being individual, with the right also to protect yourself and your family and loved ones, you can opt to continue on wearing your face mask even if these are outdoor spaces. And even if you feel that you have been, boosted, you have been given you are fully vaccinated and boosted. Kami sa Department of Health, ang akin po dito ay alam naman natin na 3 bagay ang dapat nating sundin upang tayo ay magkaroon ng siguradong very safe opening of our economy. And that would be maintaining our face masks. And then number 2, ang well-ventilated areas or outdoor spaces. At pangatlo, yung ating pagbabakuna.
The Department of Health did not confirm if they were consulted by Governor Garcia prior to the EO's issuance. But according to them, face masks can be removed in certain activities, such as eating, performing sports activities, and in well-ventilated areas. The DOH also adds that the pandemic is still not over and the public still needs to be careful not to catch the virus, like wearing of masks and vaccination. As of now, 70% of Cebu's province-eligible population are fully vaccinated, according to DOH Region 7, while around 20% of them received their first booster shot. The DILG has yet to comment on the EO. Governor Garcia explains in the EO that provinces can issue such regulations under the local government code. For News 5, Faith Del Mundo, we are One News.
The Boston Celtics are now just 2 wins away from the NBA championship after winning against the Golden State Warriors in Game 3. Boston gained a double-digit lead early on, which the Warriors broke for a moment in the third quarter. But the Celtics wasn't about to give the game to the Warriors in their home court and immediately turned the game around with a 9-2 run in the fourth quarter. Boston won with a 16-point lead, 116-100. Now, some curses were lifted while the magic continued for other teams in the UAAP Women's Volleyball after yesterday's games. In game number 1, the UE Lady Warriors pulverized the FEU Lady Tamaraws in 4 sets to finally evade a winless exit in the tournament. This is UE's first win in the tournament since April 2019. They had been on a 17-game losing skid since. Adamson, meanwhile, kept its Final Four dreams alive after a huge upset of the De La Salle Lady Spikers. This sets Adamson up for a playoff game with Ateneo as DLSU officially locked in the second seed in the Final Four. The NU Lady Bulldogs made quick work of the USD Tigresses, sweeping the match and the entire elimination series. They now walk to the top seed of the Final Four with their flawless 14-0 record. And the Ateneo Blue Eagles were successful in their quest to fend off the UP to set up a knockout match against Adamson. In straight set fashion, Ateneo secured a playoff for the last spot in the semis against the Lady Falcons. And that is how today is shaping up to be. Join us later again at 9 in the morning as we monitor the day's biggest stories from sunrise to sundown. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.